again, good morning and good afternoon to everyone that is tuning in. My name is Sharnae Sanders. I serve as the program manager at COAC Detroit, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm so delighted, like the excitement, I can't even irradiate as much excitement coming from my voice right now that I truly feel, because I really recognize the importance of this conversation, because I know working at COAC Detroit, we continue to work with so many hardworking and so many just dedicated and committed nonprofit professionals, community leaders, grassroots leaders who are doing so much impactful work in their community. So to be able to have a conversation on making sure that we can continue this work and continue to drive it forward while also caring for our own well-being, because we recognize that the best asset of any organization is its people, is so important in the work that COAC does and what we stand for. And we recognize that it's so important for you as well, so you can continue to do the impact that you're trying to create in your community. So I'm so incredibly thankful for all of the guests that we will have featured today. You are definitely in for a treat. If you've already listened to the Natural Collisions podcast, where we have the Work Will episode, then you already know that this is going to be a conversation where you're probably going to be taking so many notes or capturing so many gems that are said. But this is a conversation I definitely invite you to be a part of. Please engage in the chat. We will have some questions that were already actually shared that we're going to go over, but we'll also make some time for some live questions that come up. So please just share in the chat. Myself and my colleague Lauren will be looking at the chat and monitoring to make sure we collect any questions that we will ask at the appropriate time. But first, before we get started a little deeper, I would like to introduce COAC Detroit to anyone that is not familiar. I already see some familiar faces and names, but if this is your first time attending a COAC program, well, welcome. COAC Detroit, we are a hub that accelerates transformational impact and for nonprofits and community organizations in Southeast Michigan through collaborative idea generation, cross-sector resources, and equitable access to world-class programming and learning opportunities. This right here is a photo of our space. We're located in the New Center neighborhood in Detroit, not too far from our partners at TechTown. And one of the great things is, though, right now we utilize the space, and I've been slowly piloting various organizations within our space as we're starting to kind of just get things reacquainted and making sure that it is safe for everyone to kind of start to come back and pilot different programs. But we've been really primarily still working virtual. So just like many of you, still connecting with Zoom as they're paving a way for us to connect with so many different thought leaders and experts. But what I love about this space is being able to literally connect us with people all across the country and being able to share a wealth of knowledge and ideas. So with COAC right now still primarily doing virtual programming, I'm so excited that we're able to welcome some of our guests today to really kind of just share out some of the lessons and their things that they've been learning, whether they are local to our community or not. And this is, again, part of our Nonprofit Wellbeing Series program, which is really created to uplift not only self-care practices, but also different community care practices in ways that we can really activate a culture of well-being within, because we recognize no matter how much we take care of our own needs to make sure that we're good, it's important that the cultures that we work in, the environments that we continue to operate in, and the teams that we're working alongside are also healthy. So the impact of the work that we're trying to create continues to be strong and have the impact that we're seeking, because we have to be well mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, etc., to really make this impact and to make the change that we want to see. So I'm really excited that this year for our Wellbeing Series, we've really been taking a deeper dive into what it looks like to really activate a culture of well-being by looking at it through the organizational lens, which brings us to our guest today. I'm so thrilled, as you probably have heard me say so many times already, to have these three guests with us today. And I also want to specifically thank Erica for stepping in, because if you've already listened to the podcast and you know Noah, he was one of the original three that was on the podcast, but is not unable to make it. I believe he is on a vacation, so that is totally fine. And that is very encouraged. Thank you, Erica, for him to be able to take the space to refuel, to rest and recharge before coming back to work. So I'm so grateful for you, Erica, for stepping in. And on that note, I would love if you all can actually just introduce yourselves. Right now, we already kind of see your name, title, and organization. But if you can just say your name, your pronouns, and whatever else you would like to share, I would personally love to know, how are you feeling today? So before we dive into this conversation, I would love if you could just share, how do you feel, or how are you showing up in this space? And that is for whoever would like to kick off between Trina, Spring, and Erica.
I'll start us off. I am Trina Groce. I am the Director of Human Resources for TechTown Detroit. My pronouns are she and her. And I am so excited to share what we've been working on to provide support and assistance to everyone that's viewing, and to hopefully leave you empowered to enact change throughout your organization. So super excited about today.
I can go next. Good day, everyone. My name is Spring Opara. My pronouns are God and Goddess. I am a project director at CompassPoint Nonprofit Services located in Oakland, California. So it's really early for me here. And the way I'm coming into this, I'm very excited. I got my morning meditation in outside, and so I'm ready to talk to you all about some self-care.
Beautiful. And thank you for, we had a West Coast colleague for a while, and I know how challenging that can be. So grateful that you're here alongside. My name is Erica Raleigh. I'm the co-executive director of Data Driven Detroit. My pronouns are she and her. I was mentioning to my fellow speakers here this morning or afternoon now. Yep, there we go. That I was just trying to put my 5-month-old down for a nap, and he decided that he's going to be awake right now. So I'm very blissfully not hearing him screaming in the background outside the room. So I'm feeling like I can be fully present in this conversation. And I do apologize in advance if he happens to join us. He's pretty adorable, so I think we'll be all right.
Thank you so much, everyone. And no apologies needed, Erica. That is a part of the life that we are in right now. So no apologies at all. But thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourself. I'm actually going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to spotlight you all so everyone can see. Just one moment. Right, and I will spotlight myself. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you all for this. I would love if we could just kind of dive in right now. There were some questions that were already shared, but just in case someone did not get a chance to check out the episode of the podcast, I will also drop that link in the chat. If you all could just, for a reference point, can each of you start out by talking about one of the practices or policies that is currently working well in your organization that honors the well-being of your staff and team, and just talk through how you implemented it? Whoever would like to go first.
I'll jump in there. So one thing that we've just recently implemented, after our executive team, saw what was going on in the world, right? We recognized that inflation is really high, meaning gas prices are extremely high. The price of food right now is unbelievable. And so the dollar isn't going as far as it used to be. Recognizing that financial wellness is a huge part to mental health and overall wellness, right? Financial health is very important. We have just rolled out not really a policy, but something that we wanted to do to support our team members. And so we're providing at TechTown every team member with a $5,000 inflation relief bonus that will be paid out monthly from now until the end of the year. And so the mindset is that if we remove the barriers and provide support, no matter what it is, to our employees, they'll show up refreshed, productive, and they'll thrive professionally. So that is something that we're so proud to be able to do. And then not to mention, we do have 22 paid holidays, which includes mid-year break, which is a week off in the summer, and then 2 weeks off at the end of the year. And so we were strategic about having those as paid holidays and not PTO, so that we can ensure the entire organization is shut down. And really was thoughtful about how we did that and when people needed support and to actually step away from the work. So those are some of the really cool initiatives that we're doing over here.
I can jump in. Yay, Trina. We also have the mid-year break. So we take the week of July 4th. We don't honor 4th of July. I'm just going to say we are a very decolonized organization and we're continuing to decouple from things. So we take the mid-year full week of July 4th and then the last week in December. The thing that I want to lift up that we did, and it was a process, we started what we call rejuvenation days. We had support staff who would be supporting teams of, say, PDs and APDs. Those teams would do a heavy lift and then they would take a break because they're exempt, right? And our hourly support staff were not able to do that because they were probably deployed on other teams that didn't allow for that. So what we did over the last, I would say, it took us about 4 to 6 years to do it, to really get it where it's practice wide. We said that if you have a heavy lift, the whole entire team, all the way through, gets to take a rejuvenation day. We've evolved it to a policy now where you don't necessarily have to be on a team. If you've just done strenuous work over a long period of time, doesn't matter what your positional title is, you can take a rejuvenation day without impacting your PTO. So that was something that we implemented and then gave the power to the individual, not the supervisor, to dictate when that person can claim that rejuvenation day. We did say you take within as close to the time frame as you can from when you deliver it, but if you can't, then that's okay. But to have staff members who are coordinators and things like that be able to call their own time and when they need a break and not depend on us, that was a big step for us. We also moved away from having supervisors. So we don't have supervisors. There's no one to approve our actual PTO, but there is a process in which you take your PTO. So we had to do a lot of adjusting with our workshop scheduling and our delivery scheduling to allow our staff to be able to tap into those rejuvenation days and downtimes and things like that and schedule their own PTO on their own. So we're now scheduling for the first quarter in 2023. So our teams have come on, our programming team has now sent an email to everybody, please plot your PTO now for then so that everybody will have that in. So I think that that has been a really impactful thing for us to actually give the ownership and the leadership of when you take your time to the individual staff member and not leave it up to a supervisor.
I am humbled to be part of this conversation after those two descriptions. This sounds amazing. I aspire to be this amazing someday. I'll say I think Noah teased it in the podcast because we were thinking about it at the time or planning for it at least. We have instituted a 4-day work week. It's a little squishy. So we're doing a 10-week experiment. We're in week 7 right now. And essentially it's taking all of our salaried employees who are typically, we aim for 40 hours a week. There's flexibility in that. And basically now it's aim for 32 hours a week. And because it's an experiment, we gave 2 different options. One is you work 4 days a week, and if you're going to take a day off, it's going to be Friday to try to help coordinate things a little bit. And then the other option is the one that I elected, actually, is to do a shorter day, 5 days a week. So we ended up having 3 out of 10 choose the 5-day-a-week one. So we have some coverage on Fridays. It doesn't look like the whole office is gone, right? Like if you need an email responded to, you can usually catch somebody. And that has been fascinating. I think for the majority of us, and oh, I'm sorry, let me say one other thing. We are mostly full-time salaried people. We do have part-time people, and for that part-time person, we also allowed flexibility, and we actually incorporated a raise, $1 hourly raise during this period, which it will continue on after, just because she doesn't have the option at this point of taking the hours off. So we wanted to make sure that she was also benefiting from this lovely experiment that we're going through. So I would say for 9 out of 10 people, it's working really, really well. And for one of us that is also adjusting to life as a new mom at this particular moment of life, one of us might be a little bit on the fence about it, but I think it's probably better than it would have been otherwise, is the actual answer. So this is, we started planning for this like 8 months ago or so. Noah and I, as co-directors, were talking about it last year as something that we really felt like, you know, in the scheme of working life in the US, you know, the 40-hour work week is somewhat arbitrary. You know, it's almost a fluke that we've all standardized around this thing. And we were talking like, you know, we're in this new era where, one, we're not driving back and forth to meetings all the time. We are also seeing a lot more, you know, blending between, there isn't as much separation between work and home. How can we support people in feeling like they're able to achieve personal goals, have space for whatever it is that they want to and need to work on in their own lives? They're just all of the things that you can imagine could come with that extra 8 hours a week. And also test, can we do that in a way that doesn't negatively impact the organization and our ability to serve our community? So we, at this point, we've done daily surveys for everyone who's working at D3 at this point, and a weekly survey to ask, how did the week go last week? And were you able to do some cool stuff with your extra time or not? Like how are you feeling overall? And at the end, we'll do a post survey. What we couldn't build into this at this time is a big survey of all of our partners, but we'll think about that later. And then we've also, of course, because we're Data Driven Detroit, we have some internal metrics that we're tracking, mostly around where our hours are going and whether that's impacting the bottom line in a way that would become unsustainable. So I don't have the data yet, but I look forward to sharing that someday. It'd be fun.
Sharnae, can I jump in real quick?
Oh, please.
Erica said something that really sparked something for us. We too went to a reduced hour work week. So we did the 36-hour work week for all staff. Exempt, of course, is a little bit easier. And what we did for hourly staff is we did at what's called I think it's a 90% differential, so that they can take the 4 hours and just put them into their time sheets so that we're in compliance. One of the things that hinders wellness and self-care in organizations is capitalistic compliance regulations. We have to have so much time in a day and all of this and all of that. And the 40-hour work week actually, I think, was enacted in, I want to say 1938 by Congress. And it is arbitrary. And there are ways that you can work around it, which is why it's important, I think, to have an HRI, because it's usually the compliance things that don't allow us to let our employees rest. And what we've done at CompassPoint is we've looked at the compliance issues, interrogated it, and said, how close can we get to bringing the human back into the organization? How close can we get to bringing rest back into the organization? And how can it impact everybody? Because that's our one driving thing, is that it can not only impact one person, a group of person, or title. It has to be something we can do for everybody. So I just wanted to lift it up. It is possible. There's a 90% something in California that allows us to do that.
No, thank you for uplifting that, Spring. And please feel free, like Erica or Trina, if there's ever something someone else says that you'd like to follow up on, please do so. I do want to also uplift some of the comments in the chat that people are already amazed, as I am, of hearing some of these various practices, just amazing wellness ideas. And then Angela uplifting, working a 5-day shortened schedule is very helpful for a parent with kids in school. I can fit in my work during school hours and be available for after school and activities. So definitely, yes, knowing like the flexibility. And I love the idea that you also brought up, Spring, with allowing people also some of their own agency to be able to kind of share what works for them. So I guess kind of, I'm going to take it in another direction, taking kind of a step back, because for some of the questions that we received beforehand, people were really curious to know, like, how can people show up or show to their leadership and employers that self-care, workplace wellness, or rest has value in the workday and should be prioritized and embraced. One person did mention how we're working at a human service agency that is expected to always be open to helping others. How do we kind of find this middle ground or this space where we're still able to prioritize our own well-being, especially on the leadership level, to make sure that we're caring for our staff to continue to move the work forward? If anybody has any ideas, we'd like to kind of jump into this.
Can I go first? Because this is close to home. I'm sorry. Okay, so stay with me. Rest within a capitalistic framework has to be earned. That is not how human beings work. We are entitled to rest based on us being human. So if we're entitled to rest and we take it from that perspective, not taking it from how many hours are we going to lose, how much revenue, all of that, because that again is saying that you have to earn that PTO. You have to work so much time before we let you rest. That is the first place we need to interrogate in our organizations, especially within the leadership. Is it, if your leaders are sitting with it is an earned thing for self-care and wellness to come in, then I would interrogate them, and I do mean the word interrogate, and then what are we doing with HR? That is human resources. Charnay said it. That is our most valuable commodity within this whole scheme of capitalism. So why are we not prioritizing the health and wellness of our staff? And it is because we feel they must earn it. Move away from thinking you must earn it to it is required. It is necessary, it is a right, and see if you implement or look at implementation just a little bit different. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
I feel like I had the opposite problem for so long. Like, it was so easy for me I was not the founding director of Data Driven Detroit. I took over as interim in 2013 and full on executive director for another, so like 6 years before Noah and I became co-directors, which is that was a process to get there, right? I immediately, as a leader, was so concerned with the well-being of all of my people, but I forgot to care for myself. And what I am so grateful to my team for is, like, these folks are amazing. They made me take care of myself. They still make me take care of myself. Even in the pandemic, when I came to them, it was maybe a year in, or 8-9 months, something like that. And we were going through, it was hard times, as many of us experienced. And I sat down with who is now our cooperative owners, and that has another conversion that's happened in the intervening years, that group. And I just said, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I think you need to plan for me to not be here. And the first thing out of everyone's mouth is, what can we do to help you be well? And that, like, I mean, I'm going to tear up right now. Like, that was so amazing to me, that we have a culture at D3 that is supportive inside and out for everybody, and even myself. And that, like, and I'm still there, right? I'm still at D3, and it's because of that culture that it's here to take care of everybody on the team. And just, but it's hard to remember as a leader. It was not my first instinct. And so when I saw this question, I was like, man, what do you do if you're trying to manage up to someone who's not taking care of their people? And I feel like even just demonstrating that level of care can have an impact. I'm still overwhelmed years later, right? This is so that I think would be where I would start as an employee instead of as a CEO, president, whatever. If you're trying to manage up, that could be a good place to start.
That's really great, Erica. Thank you for sharing that with us and just being open and vulnerable there. I think Spring and Erica both mentioned things that I would like to highlight. People are the organization's greatest asset, very important, and they are definitely entitled to time to self-care. And then, like Erica mentioned, being a type of leader that lead by example is going to be very important for leaders to do, because team members and employees, they're watching you. When you say, hey, yes, a 4-day work week, they're watching to make sure you're doing it, to reiterate, yes, it's okay to do. But the question is, how do you show value in rest? So I thought about this, and I really feel like you have to create a safe space for employees to talk about their struggles, because what we know is burnout is real. The research tells us that, when you conduct exit interviews, you will hear that. And so create a space where employees feel comfortable to discuss how they're feeling, conduct engagement surveys, invite the decision makers to be present, to actually hear this feedback, share the feedback with them, and keep that momentum going. Don't stop. Get the decision makers in the room. Don't stop talking about it. Don't let up until you see change happen. Because what happens is, the more insight the executive team see about how people are feeling, knowing that they're their greatest asset, the more they'll be compelled to do something about it.
Thank you all, and definitely want to uplift. Thank you for the full transparency that we're getting so far, especially Erica. Tiffany mentioned, for me as a co-executive director, it's been really hard to be vulnerable and acknowledge that things are too heavy. I appreciate hearing you say that you weren't able to do it too. So thank you very much for sharing that. On this note too, definitely, I would love to kind of know, because someone did mention sooner, like in sending the questions, that they are a small organization with no HR department. How do we meet the wide variety of individual needs of a team, which is growing rapidly, and also keep the team feeling connected and taken care as a whole? So if anyone has any thoughts on that one, if you are kind of working to still build out that department or getting that piece included, how can we still center the well-being of our team, even if it's not coming from a specific department within our organization?
Can I kick us off, being the HR director? So this hits a little differently for me. If your organization is growing rapidly, the best thing you can do is invest in, at minimum, an HR manager. We're not even going to talk about the compliance situation of what you think you may think you're doing an excellent job at, and then realize, okay, we have a lot of opportunities there. So outside of the compliance aspect of it, just the human aspect, right? The personal touch to make sure that we are protecting our greatest asset. Okay. And so I like to tell people, it can't always be about mission work, right? It can't always be about, we want to pour into the mission and the people we're serving. What about the people that's doing the work to support the mission and the people we're serving? And so we have to have someone to be able to hop on a call with Erica. Erica, how are you feeling? I've been looking at PTO. I haven't seen it there. It's a check and balance for everyone there. But if that's not possible, if that's not where you are as an organization, what can you do in the now? you have to hire exceptional leaders that have a passion for people, because now you need your leaders to do two roles. You need them to manage the work product. You need them to manage and support leaders. I'm sorry, their team, their employees, like an HR department would do. But then on top of that, you have to consistently mandate trainings for your exceptional leaders and also their teams. If you have someone outside that's going to come in and provide that support, conduct team building activities, provide them and provide the manager with the tools they need to successfully lead in everything, you have to consistently do it. So those are some takeaways that I have.
I can go next. You want to go, Erica?
I was just thinking, I was like, man, Spring should probably go because I am
No.
the small, scrappy organization that's done it all wrong. Like, we don't have HR. Are you kidding?
And I like that. I like that you're bringing that up. Y'all, there is no one way. I'm going to say this. I don't know about Trina and Erica. What I've learned is there is no one way to do this. The systems we are looking for do not exist. So we have to create them. If what you're doing feels too familiar, you're replicating the colonized way of influencing and managing people, and you're going to burn them out, right? So CompassPoint is a small organization. When we started this movement that we're in, we were 23. There was some shakeout. We were down to 12. I think having a small, so one, plus one, what Trina said, get you one HR person in there. You have to. There is no way. And if you're growing, you really have to get an HR person in there because you will be out of compliance. All that aside, we were able to have conversations in a way that large organizations could not because we were small. Lean into your smallness, because then you can all talk about, discuss, what does it look like? Your shared leadership, what does that look like, right? Some of the ways that we, pre-pandemic, we had happy hour, but on our time, not after hours. We shut things down at 3 p.m. on whatever day that is. We go off and we would have food and whatever else, but we did our happy hour on company time, because it wasn't fair to us to then say, do all this work and then hang out with us later. And we're trying to build culture and bond with each other while we're, during our work period. The other thing we did was we played a lot. We had a training room. It was nothing to see us in the training room with the tables pushed back, kicking a little foosball around, tossing a football, or doing something like that. Virtual world came along. We have virtual coffee clutches. We coordinate those things on our own. Any individual staff can do it. So there are ways as a small organization you can start tapping into the wellness of the group even better than a larger organization. What brings you all joy? We started a mindfulness project together as a group. We all agreed that that would be something good. I kind of spearheaded it and told them that's what we were going to do. But okay, we all agreed at some point. And so we all started practicing. We had a consultant come in to help ground us. So these are the creative ways you can start looking at other ways to start bringing your staff together. Don't get stuck in, it has to be this, and this based on American society. Y'all, our society is going away. We got about maybe less than 20 years. It takes 250 years for a civilization to go to its demise. We're at about 238, something like that. I say all of that to say is start doing the new ways now. Start experimenting and being courageous with what you want to do now, and listen to your staff. You are a collective and a community. It is not about one person dictating. And if that is your culture and you're okay with it, that's fine. But I'm telling you now, we're going to move to a more shared leadership model in the future. This younger generation, they're not having any of that. Follow one person and do what I say and not as I do.
I will say I don't feel super young anymore, but Noah and I being co-executive directors was a big first step into that shared leadership space. And it's because, this is a really important conversation, and D3 really wanted to participate. Noah is on vacation. He should stay on vacation. I'm able to do that. We can cover each other in ways that I think that the old traditional model, it's not possible. And I mentioned too, we also so as of January 1 of this year, we are now a worker-owned cooperative. So we have 5 worker owners who are part of the initial group of owners, and our next 4 are about to start the curriculum, which we're developing as we go. September 1, we've been trying to get that curriculum done for a while, but we're getting the first 3 blocks done by September 1st so that people can start. And there will be 6 blocks of curriculum overall. They're going to give us feedback along the way as part of the process. And hopefully by the end of it, we'll have like a pretty solid curriculum that then we expect will continue to evolve over time. But looking forward to having this, it will be 9 of us. That's kind of amazing to me that there will be 9 worker owners of Data Driven Detroit, and there are 9 people on our team. That feels beautiful. And what it does for I took over again from Kurt Metzger, the data guru of Detroit area. Is a traditional kind of guy. He infused the culture with democratic thinking from the very beginning, but he was the ED and everything revolved around that guy, and it was his relationships that meant the world to the success of our organization. And when I took over, I was like, all of our funders were like, wow, who are you? And all of a sudden I was like, oh no, we're gonna not be able to make it because of a single human transitioning in their life to a different space. And I thought that was pretty tragic. These institutions, we're supposed to be building these institutions to support our community, and if they're all wrapped up in the personality of a single human being, that's scary. So we've been working on this it was like 6 years in the making, and we're very glad to finally get it to the next level. But yeah, we need to work together, and if we all are owning this together, then we can all step in and be leaders in our own way within our own organization. So.
Thank you all for uplifting those points. I love what I'm hearing with just kind of being innovative and really tapping into your own creativity and courage to think outside of the box and not always feel like you have to go the traditional route, as well as making sure that we're creating the space to at least have someone, like some HR individuals. So thank you for uplifting that point, Trina, to make, especially when our teams are continuing to grow. I feel on this note, there was like a question, and I feel like each of you have already started kind of getting into it, but when someone asks, how can we do this in a way that is affordable and can reach our entire organization and still be productive and meet our deliverables? And I feel like I was hearing a lot of thinking a little bit more creatively as well with the ways that we can do this around. But I would love to know if there's like any other thoughts, just in a way where we know that some things really do require a lot of money and just like investments and like the budgeting of your own organization. But for some of those organizations, what can they do where this does feel more affordable, more realistic for maybe where they are in this season or just time frame in terms of their organization's growth? If anyone has any immediate thoughts. And please, those who are here live, you can start dropping some questions in the chat. I would definitely love to uplift if there's any specific questions that you all would like to have answered to. So please feel free to drop them in the chat. And if you would like to come off mute, please just use the raise your hand feature. Thank you.
Okay, so self-care, what are some practical things? That was your question, yes? We have a self-care program at CompassPoint, self-care for Black women in leadership. And one of the things that I did when I designed that program was think about things that were free. Because again, capitalism and its little head is always into things. You all can go sit outside at a picnic with your phones. We've done walks with each other on our cell phones in our individual spaces. And everybody will come into the Zoom link, have their phones on or whatever, and we go for walks, right? Virtual walks with each other, right? You can, for your own personal self-care, the more you can connect with nature in between your meetings. I know many of us are doing this back to back. Oh, we're on virtual world, we're Zoom and da da da. Do not do back to backs. That ruins your self-care. Create time barriers to transition between meetings so that you're more fresh and engaged with your colleagues, right? Those are some free things you can do. Breathing exercises are really beneficial for your self-care, because we're talking about what can we do for us and for our teams that are free and low cost. It takes nothing to sit and breathe 3 times in and out with nothing there. We also have what we call a 10-minute radical rest. So many of us have started putting on our calendars throughout our days 10 minutes of radical rest. Based on compliance, y'all, law says that you get to take lunch. Take your lunch and leave your computers. The things you're asking us for, you already know what some of them are, you're just not doing them. Leave the screen, go outside. If your break is an hour, take a break. Your employer cannot retaliate. You get two 10-minute breaks or 15-minute breaks. Schedule them on your calendar so that they ring up and so that people cannot override them. Because we are in a virtual world and people can't see things now. Use your calendars to your benefit. If you want to have healthy self and employees, allot time on your calendars to actually do the work. Because a lot of times we do those back-to-backs and the work gets done when we should be resting and rejuvenating. We are only required by law, whether we are exempt or hourly, to give 40 hours. Because of our passion, we give more. I say do that in choice, and thus you need to track your hours. Many of us don't do that either. And so we find out that at some time, oh my God, I've worked 200 hours in the last 2 weeks and I'm burnt out and I don't want to talk to any of you. I don't care about client. I don't care about being nice. I hate you all. And that is what you're trying to stave off. Those are the easy ways to do things. And I'm gonna say one last thing and then I'm gonna be quiet. Resilience Initiative gives away so much funding to help us bring wellness and self-care into our organizations. Look them up. They gave us $15K to do our mindfulness project. They have coaching things that they give to folks. So Resilience Initiative, I'll see if I can find their link, and start thinking about easy ways. Don't think big. What folks are thinking are, what are these big system things we can do? Okay, start with little system things you can do. Okay, everybody, collective break from 11 to 11:10 for everybody in the organization. I need you all to clock out. So that's what I want to say as a self-care person.
Question. How are you building that into the culture, especially in a remote environment? Like, is there a list of things where you're like, these are all the things that you should be doing regularly? Is it are you reinforcing this in meetings? What are you doing? Tell us more.
We have, and again, this is why I say the small organizations, you have a unique niche that larger ones don't have. We talk about it. We talk all the damn time. We have practice meetings where we come in and we talk about things. We have other team meetings where we come in and talk about things, but we always connect with one another. My organization runs on transparency. So our ELs cannot be doing things that we don't know about. Our in-between staff cannot be doing things that the whole practice doesn't know about. So this thing evolved through conversations. We started questioning, what is our culture here? What is it that we want it to be? Our culture is the people, so what do we want? And we started having conversations in our practice meetings about what was important. And as we started moving to being a more multiracial, pro-Black organization, some of those things and conversations lended themselves to, then how do we implement that? How do we start pushing back against white supremacist ideology in order to bring the human back in, to bring the self-care back in? And it took a long time. And that's why, and I don't say it takes a long time to discourage people from doing it. It's to tell you to get started. It's not there. I personally, now I want to hear from Erica and Trina. If y'all got the blueprint that'll help this happen overnight, please give it to me, because I like to work smart and not hard. But if you are serious about this, it's going to take so much talk and conversation and crying and ruptures and coming back from those ruptures. And I love you, man. And I love you too, but I didn't like you doing that. And you just have to keep doing it. And what we're taught, and I think someone put it up, I'm not comfortable being vulnerable and acknowledging that. But we cry, we cuss, we get happy, we do all the things that humans do. And when we started embracing those things, it made it easier for us to transition to other humanistic things in the workplace, because the workplace is so mechanized and we're not machines. And so that was how we did it. Conversations. We're humans. What do we need? And we asked staff and we listened. So that's how we did it.
Some things that I thought about, and Spring, thank you so much for that. Everything you said was amazing. And you provided them with so many tools to take. The core meeting hours is something that's like low cost. It's just going to be a culture change. You know, of course, first getting that buy-in from your leadership team, and the leader and employees need to hear from the leadership team, like, okay, no, this is what we're doing. So having core meeting hours, because like Spring said, you can't be in meetings back to back, because when will you do the actual work? And then also one thing is an easy start. It's just very innovative, is org-wide mental health days. And the reason why it is technically very easy to do is because that pay, everyone's salary is already accounted for in a budget. It's just saying, hey, on this day, this month, we are going to close our organization to actually self-care. And the reason why closing the entire organization is very important, because we've all been out on vacation for one day and everyone else around us is working. And so you come back after feeling refreshed to 100+ emails, and now you're overwhelmed the moment you log back in. And so that org-wide mental health day is going to be very important. And so just like you close your operations on maybe a Saturday or Sunday, you can definitely do it on Wednesday, and you will support your clients even better because you've already done that. You notified them, your staff has taken time off together to work on, to think about their thing, to think about whatever's going on, to focus on their mental, and then you guys pick back up the very next day. That is something that's very easy to do. Again, like I said, it's innovative. So as you approach your executive team about this initiative, come from the lens of understanding that you may experience pushback at first, but it doesn't cost anything extra to do.
Yeah, I just to underscore a point you just made, Trina, I think we forget too that when we are burnt out, when we are in the mad scramble all the time, we're actually not really great at our jobs. So it's almost like if you take that time and if you allow for that space, and this is how we were talking about the shortened work week. It's like if you have to do it in less time, you're probably actually going to achieve as much, potentially even more. We have no idea, because you're focused, you're well rested, you can be more productive in many senses of the word, right? Like it's not just like kicking out work, but I mean, even just better teammates, better communicators, things flow better, like all of that as a crew. And so I think that that gets lost, especially Spring. I appreciate your kind of reinforcing the capitalist, it's built into our brains because we're living in the soup. We have no, you forget, right? And so when you look at the budget or the bottom line or whatever, it's very easy to write it off and say this doesn't make any sense. But if you can live it for a little while, I did an exercise with my coach a few years ago, more than a few at this point, where she's like, all right, Erica, tell me how many hours there are in the week. And so I did the math, and she's like, okay, how many should you be sleeping a day? And I'd subtract those. And how many do you want to spend with your family? Subtract those. And there weren't enough hours in the week to do the amount of work I was trying to do. It just didn't even make sense to, as a human, to try to do that much. And I was not doing my job very well. So when I backed off the hours, gave myself more space to be a human, a whole human who works and does other things too, I became a lot better at my job. I feel, and I think I have heard enough reinforcement of that I think it's actually true. So yeah, something to keep in mind.
I would like to just add, because the work isn't going away, right? It doesn't matter if you work like, I think someone said 100 hours in 2 weeks. Guess what? There's going to be more work for you to do. And so just recognizing that, hey, at a certain time, I have to turn it off. I have to walk away, and it's going to be there. It's not going anywhere else. No one's going to, pick it up. It's not going to disappear. It'll be waiting there in exactly the shape that you left it.
I definitely agree with that. And there's a comment in the chat, it's a real mindset shift, especially when you care so much about the work in the team. And definitely what you were just saying, Trina, is something that is going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's just a part of the culture and the way that we can really be revolutionary in changing it within our own organization. I do see a hand. I'm about to come to you shortly. And Tiffany, I just saw there was one question in the chat. Is it a best practice to have an in-house HR personnel or staff, or is it possible to contract this work for cost savings with small organizations? If you have any thoughts on that, Trina?
Yes, so it just depends on what you're capable of doing and also what you're trying to accomplish. So if your leadership team is fully capable of that engagement piece, being in front of employees, creating the culture, you can definitely outsource the HR component, but they're only going to work on compliance because they are external. They're not going to be able to engage with your team and actually build that culture piece. So again, it's just there's no one way better than the other. Just evaluating what your organization currently has and what you need, I think will help you make the right decision.
Thank you for that. And okay, we have our final question. This hour has definitely gone by quick. We definitely need to build in a little bit more time, but it's been such a robust conversation. But Tiffany, you have our final question for the day. Come off mute and share your question.
It wasn't much of a question. I just wanted to really just acknowledge to say that I'm so thankful to be in this space today. I think oftentimes thinking about these things and wellness and self-care, shared leadership, like all the things that we talked about, it's so new, it's so progressive. Like Spring mentioned earlier, there's not a system or a best practice that we can follow. We're like progressively, just doing this forward together. And so being able to hear other ideas or just the struggles that some leaders have had, like Erica, I think I'm connecting to, yes, we want to make the space for our team, but then still the mindset that we're not making the space for ourselves. And so I think absolutely, I've always understood that like, yes, I'm going to do that for my team. And then at the end of the day is me taking all of the, and not honoring myself either. And so there was a time that I had a meeting with one of my executive coach more recently, and I want to share this out to the group. And she is a fellow Black woman. And I think there's additional pressures that Black women experience in this space around wellness and self-care and how we approach this work and leadership and all of those things. And she had me do an exercise similar to not similar to what Erica mentioned, but kind of in the same path. And she had me go back and think about the agency that my ancestors 5 times removed had over their schedules. Go back 5 times removed to my ancestors and think about the agency that those individuals had. And then the position that I'm in as co-ED, and that I'm not giving myself the agency, right? And I make the space for everybody else, but not for myself. And so I just want to acknowledge that, name that, and offer that out to anyone else. If you want to do an exercise and go back, it took me so far back. And I was like, okay, There was no agency then, but why am I still putting those same pressures and mindsets? And it's because of the capitalistic society that we're in. It's because of the American way and all of those different structures and pressures. But I just want to name that out. We have the space, especially if you're in that senior leadership position, to be able to create it for our teams and for ourselves. And it's up to us to do it and start it in our smaller organizations so we can blaze the trail ahead for others to get on board for it. So Erica and Noah, there may be a conversation coming soon where we might want to just come and connect. I don't know many other organizations in our city who are in this co-directorship model, and even that's a super progressive space and all that. So yes, thank you all.
We
Thank
would
you all
love to
so very
learn from you.
much.
Yeah.
Can I leave y'all with one thought as leaders? When you are on a flight and the attendant is doing the safety check, she says, if we should lose cabin pressure, please, the oxygen mask will drop down. Please secure your mask first and then assist others, including children and elders. Leaders, you have to secure your mask first. You cannot help someone drowning if you yourself are drowning. Okay, put your life mask on first. All right, folks, I got a 10 o'clock. I will see y'all. It's been nice.
Thank you so much, Spring, and thank you so much, everyone, for this time today. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to stop right now with the recording, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for the time, and take care. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you.